Before we dive in, if you enjoy these first-person zombie apocalypse horror stories, hit like and subscribe to never miss a drop of dread. And let me know in the comments, where in the world are you listening from tonight? I read everyone, and it's wild seeing how far these tales travel. Now let's get into it. I can still hear the sirens, faint, warped by the smoke. It has been hours, maybe longer. I do not know anymore. I just keep moving, one foot in front of the other, one breath, one step. The flashlight flickers in my hand. The walls of Havenpoint used to feel strong, invincible. Now they are cracked, blackened, soaked in blood. This place was supposed to be the future. We built it with our own hands, fortified it, protected it. We grew food, purified water, taught our children how to dream again. We thought we had beaten the end of the world. We thought wrong. My boots splash through shallow pools of water as I run. Each echo bounces off the broken halls. Each shadow twists into something monstrous. I do not look back. There is no point. I pass faces I once knew, neighbors, friends, twisted, biting, clawing at the air with what used to be their hands. There is no saving them now. There is no saving anyone. The exit is close. I can almost see it through the haze. The main gate, wide open. A black void beyond it. Freedom or death. Gunfire pops in the distance. Then silence. Another section has fallen. Another friend lost. I tighten my grip on the pistol in my hand. 2 bullets left. One for a monster, one for me, if it comes to that. I should have known it would end like this. Hope is a dangerous thing, and tonight it finally killed us. Before all of this, before the screaming, before the smoke and the blood, there was hope. After the outbreak, we spent months running, city to city, house to house. It never mattered how strong the walls were. It never mattered how many guns we carried. Eventually, the dead would find a way in, and we would lose everything all over again. Hope became a cruel joke, something you whispered to dying friends to make them feel better. A story you told around campfires when the nights were too long and too cold. Most of us stopped believing in it. But not everyone. We found the dam by accident. Some old hydroelectric plant tucked deep into a river canyon. The place had been abandoned for years. The walls were thick concrete. The river ran clean and fast. There was open land to farm, a natural choke point to defend. It was perfect. Too perfect, we thought at first. There had to be a catch. But there wasn't, at least not at the start. We got to work, clearing out debris, repairing the generators, building gardens and greenhouses. We set up barricades, posted guards. For the first time since the world ended, we stopped running. We called it Havenpoint, a name that felt almost too good to be true. Word spread fast. Other survivors found their way to us, families, doctors, engineers, soldiers, people who still remembered how to build, how to heal, how to fight. Within months, Havenpoint was thriving. We had clean water, renewable power, fresh food. We even had schools again, children laughing, playing. The sound was almost alien after so much silence. We held festivals, we told stories, we dared to plan for the future. We set up a council to make decisions. Everyone had a voice. It was not perfect. Nothing ever is, but it was better than anything we had since the world burned. The walls gave us safety. The river gave us life. The dam gave us power. For a while, it felt like we had beaten the end of the world, that maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild something better than what came before. But paradise is a fragile thing, and nothing stays perfect forever. It started small, barely noticeable at first. A few crops withering faster than they should. A patrol reporting strange movement upriver. A missing supply runner. Little things, easy to dismiss, easy to forget. We were too busy dreaming, too busy believing. We trusted our walls. We trusted our defenses. We trusted each other. We forgot the first rule of the new world. Nothing is ever truly safe. Not from the dead, and not from the living. I remember the last town meeting before it all went wrong. The council stood on the dam's main platform, sun setting behind them. Voices raised in arguments over expansion plans, how many more survivors to let in, whether we could spare the resources to build new housing, whether we were growing too fast. I stood in the crowd, listening, worry gnawing at the back of my mind. I did not know it yet, but the seeds of our destruction had already been planted, and they were growing fast. The first sign that something was wrong came with the water. It was a small thing, barely noticeable, a slight metallic taste. Someone mentioned it at dinner. A few people agreed, but nobody thought much of it. The river fed our filtration systems. We trusted it. We trusted the engineers who checked the pumps every morning. We trusted our own hands. The next morning, 3 people were too sick to get out of bed. Fever, shakes, vomiting. The kind of sickness you get when the world around you starts to rot. We quarantined them. Standard procedure. We thought it was food poisoning, a bad batch of vegetables, a contaminated crate of canned goods. It was not. By the end of the second day, there were 15 more cases. No common thread. Old, young, strong, weak. It spread fast, too fast. The council ordered full lockdown protocols. No one in, no one out. Guards posted at the gates. Mandatory health checks at every barracks and home. I remember walking the halls that night. The air felt thick, heavy, like the whole dam was holding its breath. At around midnight, the first patrol went missing. 4 guards, armed, trained, gone without a trace. A search team was sent after them. That is when we heard the first screams. I was in the east wing when the alarm blared. A sharp, gut-punching sound that threw me straight into motion. Rifle in hand, boots pounding against the concrete, I rushed to the commotion. The search team found the missing guards, or what was left of them. Bodies torn apart, throats ripped open, eyes clouded and lifeless. We barely had time to react before one of the bodies twitched. At first we thought it was a spasm, nerve reactions, death throes. Then it stood up. The thing that used to be Officer Malik lunged at the nearest searcher, bit into his neck with a wet, snapping sound. Blood sprayed across the corridor walls. Panic hit us like a wave. Training kicked in. We opened fire, short, controlled bursts. It took 7 bullets to put Malik down. 7. And even then, he tried to crawl toward us until someone smashed his skull with the butt of a rifle. We stared at the body, at each other. No one said it out loud, but we all knew. We had seen this before, out there, in the ruins. The sickness was not food poisoning. It was not some flu. It was infection. Somehow it had gotten inside our walls. By dawn, there were over 30 infected. The council convened in an emergency meeting. They debated whether to euthanize anyone showing symptoms. Some argued we could find a cure. Others said hesitation would kill us all. Meanwhile, the infected kept changing faster than anything we had seen outside. One minute someone would be lying in bed, feverish but breathing. The next, they would be tearing at their own families. Containment failed. Whole sections of Havenpoint became no-go zones. Sick and dying turned into prowling nightmares, slipping through ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels. The places that once made us feel safe had become traps. Our strength became our weakness. I remember seeing Mrs. Alvarez. She ran the bakery, sweet old lady, used to sneak cookies to the kids. I saw her dragging herself down the hallway, half her face gone, still wearing her apron, still clutching a rolling pin in one bloodied hand. I did not recognize her until she screamed, a sound so raw it stripped something out of me. We were losing, fast. The only thing left to do was fall back. The council ordered everyone who was still healthy to retreat to the dam's core levels, thicker walls, reinforced blast doors, a last stand if it came to that. We rigged the upper levels with alarms and makeshift barricades, tripwires and propane bombs, anything to slow the tide. It felt like we were prepping for war. Because we were. As I sealed the blast door behind the last group of survivors, I took one last look at Havenpoint. The gardens, the playground, the quiet little town we built inside these walls. All of it was falling into darkness. We were not fighting for a home anymore. We were fighting to survive one more night. We thought the infection came from outside. It made sense. The dead always found a way. A breach we missed, a sick traveler, some random mistake. But Havenpoint was sealed tight. The walls were intact. The gates were shut. There were no breaches, no strangers slipping past the guards. That left only one explanation. Someone inside had done this. We did not want to believe it. Not after everything we had built together. Not after all the nights spent laughing around campfires. Not after all the blood we shed to protect this place. But belief did not matter anymore. Only the truth did. The council split us into search teams. Our job was simple. Find the source. Find whoever sabotaged us. It felt wrong. Like tearing open your own skin looking for a wound you hoped was not there. My team was assigned to the maintenance tunnels, a maze of narrow, dimly lit corridors snaking under the dam, rarely used except by engineers and repair crews. As we moved deeper, the air grew thick. The smell hit us first: rot, stagnant water, blood. Then we found the filtration chamber. The door was hanging open. Inside, the pumps churned sluggishly, lights flickering overhead. And in the center of the reservoir pool floated a body. Bloated, pale. The veins black and swollen, the water around it darkened by something oily and foul. One of our engineers, Caleb, climbed down to get a closer look. When he rolled the body over, I felt my stomach twist. It was not a stranger. It was Grant. One of our own council members. Missing for 2 weeks, we had assumed he died out on a scavenging run. But he had been here the whole time, rotting in our water supply. Sabotage. Deliberate. Someone had killed Grant and dumped him here. Someone had poisoned Havenpoint from the inside. Caleb cursed and scrambled back up the ladder. His voice shook when he spoke. The filtration alarms, they were bypassed. Someone knew how to override them. I looked around the chamber. The sabotage was not sloppy. It was precise, methodical. Whoever did this knew the system inside and out. This was no accident. This was an execution. We radioed it in. The council, or what was left of it, ordered a full investigation. But it was too late. The infection was already everywhere. Our food stores, our hydro lines, even the medical supplies. Whatever was in Grant's body had spread through every pipe, every faucet, every drop of Havenpoint's lifeblood. And it was changing faster than anything we had ever seen. People were turning without being bitten. Just drinking the water was enough. The infection was not acting like the old virus anymore. It was mutating, accelerating. Something worse had been born in our so-called paradise. Back at the main hall, panic was boiling over. Survivors screamed at the council. Some demanded executions, others cried for evacuation. But where could we go? The dead were at the gates. The infected were inside the walls. and one of our own had betrayed us. The council ordered a lockdown of the command center, only essential personnel allowed inside. I stayed behind with the search teams, combing through the records, desperate to find a clue, anything. That is when we found it. Grant's personal logs, hidden deep in the server archives. The recordings were fragmented, corrupted by water damage, but we pieced enough together. Grant had been working on a secret project, something he called reclamation. He believed the world was beyond saving, that the only way to rebuild was to wipe the slate clean, destroy the broken survivors clinging to old memories, start over. Havenpoint was supposed to be the first spark of a new world. Instead, he decided it would be the first sacrifice. He infected himself deliberately, then corrupted the dam's filtration system before he died. He turned our greatest strength against us. Our trust, our hope, our home. We sat in stunned silence as the truth sank in. All of this, all the death, all the loss. It was not an accident, it was murder. Grant had been dead for weeks, but his betrayal lived on. There was no cure, no salvation. We were not going to save Havenpoint. We were going to bury it. And we were running out of time. The second wave hit before we could even process what we had found. The alarm screamed across the dam. The perimeter had been breached. All sectors, all at once. It was not just the infected inside anymore. The noise, the chaos, the smell of blood. It pulled the dead from the valley. Hundreds of them. Maybe more. They swarmed over the outer walls like a black tide, clawing, biting, smashing through our defenses. The guards barely slowed them down. Our turrets ran dry after 10 minutes. Our fallback barriers crumbled under the weight. It was not a siege anymore. It was a flood. The council screamed orders over the intercoms. Fall back to the core levels. Defend the turbines. Protect the survivors. But it was too late for orders. The infected from inside met the dead from outside in the main plaza. I watched from the observation deck as Havenpoint became a battlefield, flashes of gunfire, screams swallowed by the roar of the horde. I saw children pulled from their parents' arms, fathers dragged down fighting with kitchen knives, mothers crushed under the press of bodies. There was no strategy, no plan, just survival. I grabbed my gear and joined the fallback group heading for the turbines. It was our last defensible position. Thick concrete walls, reinforced doors. If we held there, maybe we could last a little longer. Maybe. We moved fast. Every hallway a potential ambush. Every shadow hiding teeth and claws. Twice we had to blast our way through infected. Our bullets tearing through bodies that refused to fall. By the time we reached the turbine hall, we had already lost half our group. The turbines towered above us, ancient, massive, spinning slower now, choking on contaminated water. This was the heart of Havenpoint. If we lost this, we lost everything. We barricaded the entrances with anything we could find, office furniture, broken pipes, anything heavy enough to slow them down. We set up kill zones, funnels of fire to mow down anything that came through. We posted sharpshooters on the catwalks above. We made our stand. At first it worked. The first waves that slammed into the barricades were sloppy, sick, disoriented. We dropped them fast. Controlled bursts, precise shots. For a moment I almost believed we could hold out. Then they changed. The new ones were faster, stronger, smarter. They moved in coordinated waves, pushed debris into the barriers to climb over, used their fallen to create ramps. Some even flanked us, climbing through maintenance hatches, dropping from ceiling vents. It was not instinct. It was strategy. I fought shoulder to shoulder with people I barely knew. A mechanic with a fire axe, a teenager with a hunting bow, a nurse wielding a broken metal rod. We fought until our arms went numb, until the air reeked of blood and gunpowder, until we could barely hear the screams over the pounding of our own hearts. They broke through the first barricade after an hour. The second one lasted 20 minutes. The third was a pile of corpses before we even finished building it. I remember reloading behind a turbine when I heard a voice over the radio. Crackling, faint, it was Caleb. He had a plan. A last shot at survival. The turbines fed into the dam's main floodgates. Emergency override controls could trigger a massive purge. Dump the entire reservoir at once. It would wash away everything. The infected, the dead, us too if we were not clear. The catch was the override was manual. Someone had to stay behind to trigger it. A one-way trip. Caleb volunteered. No hesitation. Just a quiet, grim acceptance. We argued, screamed, begged him to find another way. He just laughed. I built this place, he said. Might as well be the one to bury it. The rest of us fell back toward the service tunnels, the only route that might lead out before the flood hit. As we moved, the turbines began to howl. The floodgates were opening. The infected felt it too. They went berserk, rushing the turbines in a frenzy, clawing and biting at the walls, at each other. I caught a glimpse of Caleb through the observation window. Standing at the console, bloodied, broken, smiling. He raised a hand, a wave goodbye. Then the flood hit. A roaring wall of water burst through the dam, shattering concrete, tearing steel. It hit the turbine hull like a bomb. The world became noise and darkness and cold. I ran. I do not remember how I made it through the tunnels, only flashes, the rush of water at my heels, the screams cut short, the blast of emergency lights flickering out. Somehow I stumbled out onto the cliffs above the canyon, soaked, shaking, alive. I turned back and watched as Havenpoint disappeared under the raging flood. The gardens, the playgrounds, the homes, all of it swept away. Wiped clean. Just like Grant wanted. Just like Caleb sacrificed himself to stop. I collapsed to my knees, breathing hard, tasting blood in the back of my throat. There was no more Havenpoint. There was no more home. Only survivors. Scattered, broken, haunted. But alive. For now. I did not have long to breathe. The flood took most of the infected, but not all. The ones who survived the purge were not like the others. They were stronger, meaner, somehow even more twisted by the mutation. They crawled from the wreckage, broken bodies still moving, eyes burning with that mindless, hungry rage. There were not many of us left, maybe 20 survivors scattered across the cliffs. No time to regroup, no time to plan. The second I spotted them crawling toward us, I knew we had to make a stand. Here, now. No more fall back, no more running. Just the cliff at our backs and the monsters in front of us. I scrambled to my feet, called out to the others, told them to rally around the rocks. Tight formation, defensive circle. We had a handful of weapons between us. Rifles low on ammo, makeshift melee weapons. A few Molotovs someone managed to scrounge from a supply bag. It would have to be enough. The first of the infected came at us in a lurching sprint. Limbs twitching unnaturally, jaws snapping open and shut like broken machines. We opened fire. Short, brutal bursts. Every shot had to count. There were no second chances. The air filled with the sharp crack of gunfire, the roar of Molotovs igniting, the screams of the dying. They hit our line hard. Teeth flashing, claws raking across skin. Every time one went down, two more took its place. We fought like animals, pure survival, no thought, no fear, just the instinct to live another second. I remember jamming a broken pipe through the eye socket of one infected. Its hands clawed at my shoulders even as I drove it into the dirt. Another survivor, Harris, took a bite to the arm but kept swinging his hatchet until he could not lift it anymore. Blood soaked the ground beneath our boots. The world shrank down to moments. Swing, shoot, step back, do it again. We fell back inch by inch, pressed tighter against the cliffside. It was not going to hold. We needed a miracle. Or we needed a choice. I spotted it out of the corner of my eye. A ruptured gas line, a leftover from the dam's emergency fuel reserves. One spark and the whole valley would light up. It would kill everything, including us. I grabbed Harris, pulled him close, told him the plan. His eyes widened, then he nodded. No arguments, no second guessing. He limped toward the gas line, Molotov in hand. The infected surged around us, clawing, biting. One of them tackled me to the ground. I wrestled it off, slammed my boot into its skull. I looked up just in time to see Harris standing over the leaking pipe. He locked eyes with me. No words, just a smile. He dropped the lit Molotov. The world exploded. A roar of fire ripped through the canyon. The heat slammed into me like a truck. I was thrown backward, hit the ground hard. For a few seconds, there was nothing but fire and smoke and screaming. When I came to, the infected were gone. Burned, blasted into ash and bone. The survivors who were left stumbled to their feet, stunned, scarred, alive. Harris was gone. He had bought us our last chance. I pulled myself up, my body a patchwork of cuts and bruises, my throat raw from smoke. Around me the survivors gathered, bloodied, exhausted, but still standing. The cliffs were silent except for the crackling of fires burning down below. We had won, if you could even call it that. Won by losing everything. Won by crawling out of hell with nothing but the clothes on our backs and memories that would never heal. The dam was gone. Havenpoint was gone. But so were the infected. At least for now. I looked at the faces around me. Some I knew. Most I did not. It did not matter. They were my people now. The last remnants of a dream shattered by betrayal and blood. We would have to start over. Somewhere. Somehow. But not here. Not today. Today was for surviving. Tomorrow could worry about rebuilding. The sun was starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. It looked almost beautiful, if you could ignore the smoke and the ash. I turned away from the ruins of Havenpoint, started walking. The others followed. We did not speak. Words felt useless after everything we had seen. We just kept moving, one step at a time, into whatever came next. Because that is what survivors do. We keep moving, no matter what. We walked until our legs gave out. Hours passed, maybe longer. We did not have a destination, only the instinct to put distance between us and what we had lost. The valley faded behind us, the cliffs, the shattered remains of the dam, all swallowed by smoke and silence. Every step felt heavier, not just from exhaustion, but from the weight of memory. Faces we would never see again, voices we would never hear again, dreams that died screaming in the flood. We found a cave halfway up a ridge. Small, dry, sheltered from the wind. We collapsed inside. No fire, no talking. Just raw survival instinct keeping us together. Someone handed out a few scraps of food, stale crackers, dried meat. It tasted like ash, but we ate anyway. It was not about hunger. It was about remembering we were still alive. I sat with my back against the stone wall, staring at the entrance, listening to the soft breathing of the others. Every sound made my heart jump, every creak of stone, every gust of wind. The infection had moved too fast, too violently. I kept wondering if it was still inside us, if we would wake up to find each other changed. But the hours dragged by, and nothing happened. For now we were safe. Safe. It felt like a lie. A temporary illusion we wrapped ourselves in just to survive the night. But sometimes lies are the only things that keep you breathing. I thought about Caleb, about Harris, about all the others who never made it out. Their sacrifices bought us this moment. This single fragile breath of survival. And I promised myself it would not be wasted. No matter how broken we were, no matter how much the world wanted to bury us, we would endure. Because that is what Havenpoint was always supposed to be. Not walls, not gardens, not gates. Hope. Hope built by the stubborn hearts of people who refused to give up. Even when the world burned. Morning came slow. Gray light bleeding through the cracks in the stone. We gathered what little we had, checked weapons, counted supplies, said nothing. There was nothing left to say. We stepped out into the ruined world. The wind was cold against my skin. The land stretched empty before us. A wasteland. But somewhere out there, past the ash and broken cities, something had to be waiting. A place untouched, or maybe just another fight. It did not matter. We would find it. Or we would die trying. Because survival is not just about breathing. It is about choosing to keep moving, to keep fighting, even when the world tells you to quit. Even when hope feels like a memory you cannot quite hold on to. We lost Havenpoint. We lost everything we knew. But we were still here. And as long as we drew breath, the world had not beaten us yet. Not today. Not ever.